All right, sports fans, how's everybody out there doing? William Martin coming at you one more time here on YouTube with another edition of the 300 Pounds of Sports Knowledge Podcast. Now, from 2003 to 2008, the Detroit Pistons enjoyed one of their best stretches in franchise history. Over that time, the Pistons made six consecutive trips to the Eastern Conference Finals, two trips to the NBA Finals, and won the NBA championship in 2004. But since then, the Pistons have fallen off as one of the NBA's once proud franchises is now an afterthought. Since the Pistons lost to the Boston Celtics in the 2008 Eastern Conference Finals, they've only produced one winning season with just three trips to the playoffs. And in those postseason appearances, Detroit has never gotten past the first round. And with that said, nobody in the Motor City is going to get solace from this year's Pistons team, as it's just that same old song in Detroit. Now, Detroit's 10-30 mark to start this NBA season has put them on the fast track to their eighth campaign in which they'll lose at least 50 games since 2010. And if you're a Pistons fan, you've got to ask yourself whether or not that there is any relief in sight for this franchise. Now, I know that the Cade Cunningham injury really changed things. You're talking about a young man that was taken first overall in 2021, was showing flashes, and now he's out for the year. He only appeared in 12 games this season for the Pistons. The Pistons do have one of the younger teams in the NBA, but at some point they got to put some productivity out there on the court. But the biggest issue for me with the Pistons is their drafting, as this is a team over the past 10 to 12 years that has consistently missed on their first round picks while allowing all-star caliber players to slip through their fingers. Most notably, Chris Middleton was involved in that Brandon Jennings trade several years back. But not just only that, you just look at the guys that they did pick over the years in the first round, as opposed to the guys that they did not pick, and how these players have gone on and had immense success with other teams. And you think about it for the past decade or so, so many different names, people rather calling the shots in the front office, from Joe Dumars to Jeff Bauer to Ed Stefanski to now Troy Weaver. Too much inconsistency there in the front office. Six different head coaches since 2009. This is year number five for Dwayne Casey. He's never had a winning season with the Pistons. His best season came in his first year, the 2018 NBA season, where the Pistons went 41-41 and got to the playoffs, but they didn't do anything. But nonetheless, we could be looking at a scenario where that could be a seventh different head coach since 2009. You look at this current Pistons team defensively, they're 29th in the NBA in points allowed this season, and they're also 28th or tied for 28th in opponent's field goal percentage. The Pistons already have 9 losses this season by 20 points or more. Offensively, it does not get that much better, as Detroit is tied for 23rd in the NBA in points per game. They're 28th in field goal percentage, and they're 16th in 3-point field goal percentage. And, I talked about Dwayne Casey, but I think the bigger issue with the Pistons, in my opinion, is an issue that is hurting some of the younger NBA teams. And it's unfortunately an analytics driven fuel driven league. And for me, it's one of those where, you know what, you just gotta put the analytics aside and use your common sense. And you have one of the younger teams in the NBA. First and foremost, it's easier for these youngsters to come along if they have veterans there to show them how to get it done. And too many of these teams have just, pushed veteran players aside, and they just want to go for the youth. But the bottom line is, these guys, these youngsters need to be around veterans who are going to show them the ropes, show them the ins and outs, show them what it takes to have success in the NBA. And it's so much easier just in any facet of life when you can lean on somebody who's been there to kind of, guide you along, as opposed to just using a computer. Now, with that said, the Pistons have to get better players, and they also have to execute better. And I think one of the bigger problems with Detroit is the same thing with a lot of teams out there. They're focusing too much on the perimeter game when they don't have the personnel to do it. Run more half court sets, be more fundamentally sound. And this is something that the Pistons have to do at each end of the floor if they're going to be successful. But at the end of the day, if you're going to ask me if the Pistons can get out of this rut, at some point they will. It's not going to be this season, I can tell you that much. And it more than likely won't be next season as well. Bad teams, bad organizations, regardless of the sport, have the same issues. Number one, there's an issue in regards to drafting properly and then developing your talent. And then on top of that, it's about having the difference between having a winning culture and a losing culture. These young men that are on the Pistons right now don't know what it takes to win in the NBA. And that is the fine line between success and not having success. You have to know what it takes to win, and then you have to go out there and expect to win. You watch these Pistons play, they definitely do not expect to win when they take the court. And the proof is in the pudding because here we are in January, and this team has only won 10 games so far this season, which is the worst mark in the NBA. So if you're a Pistons fan, there really isn't that much relief in sight. You're probably going to get another top five pick in the NBA draft over the summer, but it really won't amount to anything if this organization A doesn't find the right person or B go out there and develop these youngsters. Bad organizations do bad things, just like great organizations do great things. Whenever you see a elongated period of futility like we're seeing right now with the Detroit Pistons, that is why. You think back to the success that the Pistons had during the 1980s, and of course, back to back NBA championships in 89 and 90. That was due to the fact that the Pistons had a culture of winning. They expected to win. They drafted, they made great trades, and they brought in the right people. And of course, then again from 2003 to 2008, it was a similar scenario, but they have gotten away from that. This team is an afterthought in the NBA, and now they're in a scenario where their opponents simply expect to lace them up and go out there and win. And that's not a category that you want to be in for any league. But unfortunately, here in 2023, that is exactly what the Detroit Pistons are. So, folks, that is going to wrap it up. And as always, I want to take this time out to thank you for tuning into the 300 Pounds of Sports Knowledge podcast here on YouTube. I want to take this time out to thank all of you fine folks out there for tuning in. And if you have not already, please feel free to subscribe to this channel. Now, if you're on Twitter, please feel free to follow me at 300 Pounds of Sports. And like I always say, if you follow me, it will be my pleasure to follow you right back. There is also the sports discussion group on Facebook at the Sports Depot 365. Now you can check it out. Drop a line and be a part of one of the better sports debating sites going on social media. So, once again, fine folks, my name is William Martin. I am signing off, saying take care and have yourselves a wonderful day.